This is called The Plane Journey. That was a whisper and has been a whisper over a decade and more. So, the plane journey. I got on the plane, not quite sure which journey it was on the plane, which is my memory at times. But however, I got on the plane. I was moved seats. It was a bit strange because the seating arrangements got changed. I thought that was strange. I knew there was something not quite right about how I was being treated on the plane. Now, I didn't understand, but then I had this guy beside me. I don't know, Manchester, he was English. He was interesting. He was interesting as in he wanted to talk to me. And I was quite happy to talk to him because at that point, I would talk to anybody all the time. Extremely friendly. Always was. Not so much now. Too much harassment and bullying for years. I've had to learn to not be so friendly. It's been actually tough to change my personality from a person of warmth to a person who is cooler with humans now, because so many have been directed at me to make a play of it, to be friendly with me, and then really do something really nasty because they're instructed to do, because this all the way along has been about actually destroying my human side and making me cold. Maybe they wanted me to be, a person that would harm others and go and do or maybe I was on the list. I think I was on the list. But anyway, the plane journey, because this is what this one's about. I have to talk about it all. I have to get it all out there, all the whispers, and this is the next whisper. But this whisper's been going on a very long time. But there's been so many whispers over so many. Gosh. I have been the luckiest woman in the world to have had so much criminal and police frames and stalkers and all that on me all the time. And all of it rubbish. I think a lot of it about the rubbish. And that's really bad. But anyway, the plane journey. I was on the plane. I can't tell you which plane journey I was on because I can't remember. Truthfully, I can't remember. But I thought there was something odd. And there was. And the man, I think, was placed beside me on purpose. And he was reading a book. And I'm a friendly soul. And we got chatting. I usually on the planes, up until everything that's gone on, I stopped being so friendly on planes. A bit nervous with being friendly because what the hell is going to come next at me. But anyway, this guy at that time, I was very open and friendly and easygoing with the guy, and we got on. I've got on quite a few planes and got on earlier on before all this at me all the time. Anyway, so we were talking and he was really interested in what I knew about the I think my name now. Oh gosh. Oh, it's gone. I'll have to come back to it. Madeleine, that's it. Madeleine McCann case. I didn't really know anything about it at that time. So he wanted to fill me in on what he was reading. So I just went along with it. So he told me things that I didn't know, like the colour of the eyes. I didn't know that. It was all on the plane. Those plane journeys, by the way, they're all recorded. The airplane, whoever runs the plane, the air hostesses, voices are heard. And I have been scrutinised all the time in England, here, recorded, all my conversations recorded. So this will be somewhere. Someone will have all this. I have no doubt about it. So he wanted to talk about Madeleine McCann. I knew nothing really about Madeleine McCann. She was in the news. So I wasn't ignorant, and I said, I don't really know anything about the case. I'm so sorry. So this was a journey on a plane after the case, you know, something had already happened, because that was the talk. So, and I think it was Manchester or Birmingham or somewhere like that. But he seemed to have a special interest in the case. And he was talking to me and telling me all about Madeleine McCann case. I knew nothing about it. I didn't even know about the eye colours. I passed that information on to people over the years, because why would I not? Because I didn't really, and I said, oh, you know, and I even said to Mum, and she probably took it the wrong way, but it wasn't. I said, oh, you've got a blotch in one of your eyes. And I said, I got told, you know, on the plane from the man that Madeleine McCann had. And it was because he was very interested. He told me a lot of stuff and I can't remember any of it. I remember that bit. And he told me a few other bits and bobs. And I always thought, oh, it's a bit strange. I've always thought it's a bit strange, that case, but I've listened to lots of cases or read lots of cases and thought, oh, that's a bit strange, and had a thought about, oh, maybe it could be that, or maybe it could be that. And with the McCanns, I thought maybe, you know, maybe I gave at my time, and I don't know, my opinion that maybe there was a linkage to the medical side, the doctor side. I don't know. I've got no clue, and I never will have a clue on that. But I think that I needed to talk about this case, because there's been whispers for years. I think somebody was startled that I knew about the blotch in the eye. Maybe at that point nobody knew, but I got told that on the plane. After that, you know, so it had already happened. Whatever had happened with the woman, the girl, I don't know what happened to her, but it had already happened. And this person, I think, manipulated everything to sit beside me. Maybe he, you know, or the group, because they've tried to frame me on many things, wanted to frame me over something I would never do. I'd never harm. And maybe when I went to somewhere like Las Vegas, and this is why I'm linking it up, and I approached the family that I thought was on the bus, there was so much panic. Maybe it's because I was always under a frame for something that I had never done. I'd never even been in the same country at that time either, of whatever year it was that it happened. So I wasn't even around at that time, even in the same country. So the linkage, I think, is about hate. But I've had lots of linkages. You know, this is not the only whisper I've had about me, and which has been absolutely, you know, even the thing about, you know, in Australia, about me being a pedophile. I've never been arrested or charged, and I've never done anything dirty with any child that I'm ever aware of. And I don't believe that anybody, you know, who knows me would ever think that about me. But they got told that in Australia by the police. You know, it's frame after frame after frame. And they said, it's something on your passport. Well, I went to the passport office there and I said, can you check my passport? Is there something significant on my passport? And they said, there's nothing. Apparently they do have some kind of way. And I said, I've only ever been charged with one thing, and it wasn't criminal, and it was a car crash. I've never actually, I don't really do any bad stuff. And most of the time I've been, all the time I've been monitored, so they know I don't do bad stuff. I just want to put all this out here, because this is the next talk. Every talk is true from my perspective. Okay, I may get a little details wrong, and you know, I got something wrong that was vitally important. I said sorry to my son over something, and I said, oh, I just wasn't thinking, and sometimes you don't, but I didn't want to retract it because it was raw and it was me, and I didn't want to change it. I just wanted people to see me nuts, bolts, you know, nails and all. You know, I'm not putting on an act. I'm just being me. And this today is about that. So there's been whispers for years. And I think the whispers have been on purpose. I think somebody has whispered because they wanted to put me in a frame for something that they can't even put me in a frame for, because I wasn't even in the same country. I wasn't even really aware of the case. I had, like everybody else, knew that it happened, but that was as far as my that I don't read. And I don't read. I never used to, and I don't really now, murder cases. I sort of have always stayed away from them from being very, very young, because it's the ugly part of life. I don't know details of most of the cases. Nearly 99.9% of the cases I don't know, because I think that I don't want to know at some level. I'm not a person that has a gets obsessed with the cases and learns all about the cases, and I know that that's a bit ignorant. I know that, and I had one person one day very angry at me. He says, "You don't even know about blah blah 5 or blah blah 4 or all these groups of basically terrorists," and he says, "You know nothing about any of that." And I said, "No, I don't." And he was so angry, that one, Liverpool or Manchester. He's like, "Why do you not know about these cases? And why don't you know the details?" I said, "Well, that's you. You learn the details. You don't know about them. They're probably active at your time. They were active at my time. But I was in another world. I was looking at different things. I was aware of it, but I didn't get involved in the details, and I couldn't tell you any of the humans' names who was involved." And he was so angry, but I understood that anger was also about they couldn't pinpoint anything on me because they knew I knew nothing about it. And this has been it, because there has been a real drive the whole time from the boys in blue, the police. It comes from the Royals down. I know that. I know it's about a lot of things, about revenge, about trafficking, about ideas. I know it's a lot of things, but I need to put the record straight on this. This is something that I cannot shy away from. I have to talk about it, because the talking changes it. Thank you very much. That's the plane journey. That was just a talk with a man who knew everything, who seemed to know a lot. He told me stuff. I can't remember anything else he told me, really, but I do remember that, and I did pass that on. And maybe that was the wrong thing, because maybe I was the one that they wanted to incriminate in something that I wasn't, never been a part of. And this has been it the whole time. A whole bunch of stuff that I've never been a part of, that somebody wants to link me to. In fact, really wants to link me to terrorism, so much so has put terrorists beside me on purpose to link me, so that they can control everything about me and have me as the trafficked human, a slave. Everybody knows. I've wrote about it, I've talked about it, and so this has been another step of different types of frames on me. I'm just saying the truth. All right, thank you, Kimamanda Jackson.